Greetings again and welcome to the United Hotspot. Now, Manchester United is in the hunt for a centre-back as one of the key positions that Ineos want to start with in their rebuild. We've been linked to many, including some in France, some in Italy, and others as close as here in Merseyside in the UK. But who exactly shall we zero down on? I've spoken about most, but one player I didn't want so much to give much attention is the Brazilian 27-year-old Gleison Bremer, who plays for Juventus. But as it is, after watching that friendly game between England and Brazil, he's emerging now as one of those United are putting up high in the list. Now, let's talk about Bremer. Now, Bremer joined Juventus in 2022 from Torino, and he has since played so many games for them. He's been an integral part of the Juventus team, and whatever they do, he's an important player for Massimiliano Allegri's side. And there's a lot of positives to his game. He's first of all physical, because if you think about his height, he's 6'2", and that means he's the exact opposite of Lisandro Martinez, who would be his partner if he joined Manchester United. Now, whatever Licha doesn't have, he has in terms of height, but also his physique. He's tall and big, so he's sort of, in football standards, is a giant of sorts. And you think that is a different dimension that you need. It gives us a good balance. If one on the left is short and with a low center of gravity but firm on the ground, then the other is tall, it gives you a good balance. One will fight for the aerial duels. That is why, by the way, the partnership with Lisandro Martinez and Varane, and even Harry Maguire, these are two giants, has been decent, because Varane has a low center of gravity, he's firm on the ground, he's solid, a good ball passer. These guys will do more of the aerial work, which is good. Not that Licha is bad himself with aerial balls. He somehow wins them because of his smartness, but you want a player who is strong to partner him. So I think he passes that part of height and physique. The other thing that he has, that he brings for me, is his game reading and his ability when it comes to one-on-one situations. He's able to go into those one-on-one situations and beat off and win balls. I had Paul Scholes sometime before complaining about, because when Lisandro Martinez is not there, Varane and Harry Maguire are not the best when it comes to 1v1 situations. And that's a huge weakness, because if you're a Man United team that wants to play by attacking, you know that you're going to be exposed eventually. Your defenders are going to be exposed. So whereas you would want to have holding midfielders to shield them, there are moments that are going to come in the Premier League match where they have got to go in and get into those duels, those one-on-one situations. So whereas you're a centre-back and yours should be just sweeping, you've got to have certain one-on-one abilities to be able to win balls, to be able to fall into shots. Those are things you need to have as extras to be a good centre-back at Manchester United. Now, that's why, by the way, at some point, and this probably that is the little bit of weakness that people are trying to see in Lisandro Martinez's game. But of all we have, he's actually a better 1v1 situation player than most, but he's not really up there, because if you look at all the centre-back partnerships United has had, from Vidic and Ferdinand, talk about Jaap Stam and whoever he played with back then, they were all always going to come through. They're centre-backs, but they would come through and turn up when they were faced with 1v1 situations. You've got to have it in you as a defender. You can't play away with it and leave that to the holding midfielders. So it's one thing that it brings for me that would be a good advantage in terms of balancing our central defense. The other thing he has is I think he's a bit better. He's ambidextrous nature. He can play both with his right and with his left. I've seen him assisting with his left foot, chipping crosses and assisting with his left and with his right. He's predominantly a right-footed player, but he can do well with his left as well, so which is a good thing to see, because we want to play from the back. Erik ten Hag, that's how he wants to play. But also, even if Erik ten Hag were not to stay, and we have any of the so many coaches we are linked with, all the coaches we are linked with at Manchester United are coaches who can play from the back. That's the style of football Ineos will want. That's the style of football Dan Ashworth would want. That's what he's known for. So you're thinking he would fit into that properly well and give a good balance with Licha, because he's the king of it. He's a perfect, impeccable ball passer. So that's another advantage that he would have, that would bring into Manchester United. The other thing is the experience. He's 27, and we know that Ineos are looking to match young players, much younger players. in their rebuild. But you see, you cannot have a strong team built mostly or fully on young players. You need to have a certain decent, share of experience. So my thinking is 27 is not too old. So whereas the likes of Braithwaite are younger, and perhaps that means more time, you have them for longer. I'm thinking you can go for the younger players in certain other departments, because already you've got a young Kobe Maino, who is an integral part of the midfield. You've got a young Rasmus Højlund, a young Garnacho. You don't want a team full of so many young players, because it will cost you eventually when you get into the title races. I'll give you an example of Steven Gerrard and his Liverpool team that underachieved, that failed to win the Premier League title. He said it himself. I was watching an interview recently with him and Rio, and he was saying the reason they failed to win that Premier League title, they lost, I think, at the death to Chelsea, was the inexperience, the lack of experience. Even if they were playing very good football under Brendan Rodgers, they did not win it because they lacked experience. So at times, even this Arsenal team in recent years failed to win the Premier League because of the inexperience. So at times, when you go into that battle for the Premier League title, which will always go to the wire many a time, you need experience, a certain balance, a certain fine share of experience for you to be able to have a chance. Now, if you have so many young players, whereas you're rebuilding, fans want the title, it will take you so many years to get the maturity, or you eventually might have to go into a window and bring in a little bit of experience to help the young players to try and be able to manage that the final stretch, or the home stretch leading to the title, which is always intense. So for me, my thinking is he has that other advantage that he would bring. The other advantage he has is the price, because we are in a tough situation where we don't have a lot of money as Manchester United. There is not so much money to spend. So obviously that means one thing, that we've got to look for cheap options. Now, he said that he signed a contract extension with Juventus in December, and his buyout clause is about £43 million. Now, you're thinking that's the same amount of money probably we can get Jean-Claude Todibo for. That's almost the same amount of money. So that's affordable, because we know that many players are priced at 80. For example, look at Braithwaite, the young Braithwaite from Everton. Because he's English, he's being priced at about £75 million, which for me I think is on the high side. There is no justification. Whereas he's a promising young player and the markets are crazy today, there is no justification for him to be priced at 75 million quid. So that's why I'm thinking, you look at Bremer and everything that he has, his physicality, his playing style, his price, and you're thinking he could actually make sense for Manchester United given the current situation we are in. And I keep saying it for me that you don't need to spend so much money on a centre-back in this day and age. There are not so many great centre-backs anyway, with the exception of the Uruguayan Barcelona centre-back who was being praised by Roy Keane. I think Aruja or something. That's if that's the right pronunciation of the name. I think there are not so many of them in the world. I think football has changed a bit today, that you don't really need to have a Yapstam, a Rio Ferdinand, a Vidic, a John Terry, a Cannavaro for you to be solid at the back. I think it's the systems, how you arrange your team, will shield your goalkeeper and shield your backline, and they will be left with not so much to do. So for me, I'm thinking instead of spending so much money on, which we don't even have, on a centre back, we would rather go for someone who has got those, who ticks certain boxes, and who has got a bit of experience, because he has played in Europe with Juventus. He has been around a bit longer. Played in a physical league like the Serie A that we know. So go for such a player and spend the more money on the players in front of him. The holding midfielder, for example. Those are important departments in a team. Kobe Maino needs a good partner, and those are expensive players lately. Holding midfielders are probably some of the most expensive players in football lately. So my thinking is, if Bremer can come in as that cheap an option, I think it would make sense. I think it would make sense for me. Not to say that he would be much better than Todibo, but as it looks, it doesn't seem. It seems to be sort of a tall order for us to think that we can get Todibo in the summer. There is probably niche sort of overprice him. There could be competition for him as well, and forget about thinking the fact that because Sir Jim Ratcliffe, our co-owner, owns niche, then that gives us a big advantage to sign him. I think with professionalism and how the game works today, he may not really have that influence. The right decision has got to be made with what the player wants. That is one. what does the player want, but also what is best for the club in terms of business. Is Man United if Man United doesn't have enough money to pay because they said they could want 50 million pounds or about 45 to 50. If United doesn't have it, and Chelsea comes because Todibo is wanted by so many clubs that many clubs are interested in him. Chelsea comes with enough money, because even Chelsea are being linked with Bremer, by the way. So they're also looking out for a centre back. So they're also not settled. So it's not a guarantee that we could have Todibo. That is why conversations of us having a backup and mentioning the likes of Bremer do hold a lot of water. They do make a lot of sense. But I look at him extensively and I'm thinking he could make sense, because everything around him is more reasonable. Forget about these young Antonio Silvas, the Benfica centre back, who is only 20 but priced at about 100 and something million pounds. So the other good players who are young, either too young or too young and too expensive, which again doesn't make sense. So for me, that's what I think. So Bremer, you can get a chance to watch him for Brazil, because he actually came on, I think was a substitute for Brazil against England, and you know, he brought in some good yards. He was solid. You can watch him again on Tuesday as Brazil takes on Spain in another friendly game, another international friendly game. So let's monitor him a bit. Brazil has got so many players we are linked with. They have got Lucas Paqueta, who is a midfielder, who is we looked at as a swap option with Harry Maguire. He's being considered in that way as a swap option with Harry Maguire at West Ham. Then there's Joao Gomez, who is looked at as the holding midfielder. He's a guy who, the shark number 15, who Kobe Maino, who should be his partner, should we go for him, was making, you know, rotate and dance around, spinned him 360, almost running mad. Anyhow, that is it. This is the United Hotspot. My name is Webb. I did want to comment about these players we are linked with, and yeah, I think there are options. I mean, if we don't have the money, if the money comes, of course, we can go for the more expensive. But what I picked from Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not the kind who wants to go for the already made, the so-called already made. He's the kind who wants to get young players when they are young and make them himself, or get those not so young but not unknown, make them stars and probably sell them. He's a businessman. He knows how to make money, and he will look for avenues to make an extra quid for Manchester United, that is for the football operations, because I mean, football is business. That's why he keeps talking about improving Old Trafford, so that people get an experience that will keep them around after a game or before a game. People stay and spend money, so that, you know, the club is self-sustaining, because in any case, the financial fair play man is not sparing anyone. It is probable that Manchester United is the only team that has not yet fallen on the wrong end of the financial fair play man. It's that bad. Teams, Nottingham, I hear Chelsea, they are coming for Chelsea, Everton, name them. They are all failing. Financial fair play has made it extremely difficult for these clubs to stay afloat. So things are not easy, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe is here, and in him we believe. My name is Webb. This is the United Hotspot. I'll catch you later, fam.